Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Well, all right. Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast. Kevin and Chuck. Today, we're going to talk about dealing with neighbors. We've all come across the bad neighbor, or maybe if you haven't, you've seen it on TV or whatever. People that, end up ruining your day and how you can maybe deal with them. And, I know a guy I used to work with, he always had the neighbor problems. The kids would be coming over and playing in his yard. The dogs had come crap in his yard, or, and just stupid stuff, having parties at all hours. And, and then, once you start saying something and it just escalates and things can end badly, then they're coming over at their party in the middle of the night and peeing on your Hummer, whatever, I don't know what happens, but it's an ugly world out there, right? So the way I got it figured, there's good neighbors and there's bad neighbors. And I think you can break it down into two categories, where you have good neighbors that are actually an asset to you, and then you have good neighbors that kind of go through life and don't even know they exist, which can be a win. Then there's bad neighbors. Now you have neighbors that are just like a dumbass. I know I've had ones where they're a little too friendly and want to involve every, thing and invite themselves to all your adventures and do all kinds of crazy stuff with you. And it gets annoying.
I don't like it that much.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have the ones that actually are don't like you for whatever reason and are actually seeking to do you harm. And that's a different type of neighbor too, I was just, I started a new job there, and we were at the company orientation type stuff, and they were talking about dealing with people in conflict. And one of the girls there, she was like, "Oh, I had a coworker who used to, just always come up and say things, just that were hurtful and jerky all the time. And, oh, you look fat in that. Or, oh, why are you always so mean? And, just always had something to say. And she tells me they drag her up, she finally had to say something. And they drag her up to HR, and HR's like, what's your deal with her? What'd she do to you that pissed you off? I don't know. I just don't like her, is the answer. And, sometimes there's just people like that, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yep. Yeah. I got a couple of people that just don't like me, but I think it's probably mostly my fault.
Yeah. I mean, and half of them are listening
they probably
to
got
podcast.
Reasons. Yeah. They got reasons.
They got reasons, huh? And if they're vegan, forget about it,
Forget about it.
All right. That sounds right. So, I don't know. So let's say in our modern present day world where we still have a law and order, how do you deal with it?
Well, honestly, the best thing you can do if you're in a location you're gonna be there for a while is getting to know your neighbors first off, right?
Yes, that sounds excellent.
it's worthwhile to invest a little bit of effort in getting to know your neighbors. Just for the basic, you come home, maybe your neighbor shouts across the street, "Hey, saw some guy lurking around your house today." Didn't do nothing about it, but at least somebody's been around, what they look like, maybe get a little bit of something,
Were they from the ATF? Did they have a ball cap? It said ATF.
They wear a baseball cap. Yeah.
There you go. So
it's a lot easier too to head off problems before they become problems.
Yeah,
when you know your neighbors.
Right.
I think most of the issues with neighbors is property lines, boundaries. Keeping your shit in your yard and their shit in their yard, and where that yard starts.
Fences make good neighbors.
That's right. Ben Franklin said, "Love your neighbor, but don't pull down the hedges."
There you go. That sounds right. Mm-hmm. I was actually watching The Rifleman the other day.
Uh-huh.
And now some of you youngins don't know what The Rifleman is, but whatever. And the guy gets this new neighbor, and the guy's, I don't know, doesn't like people and whatever. Somehow society's responsible for his wife dying or something. And he decides he wants to put up a barbed wire fence. And the rifleman guy, goes up and he's like, "Oh, how dangerous these are, and they're so horrible." And but right away he tries with this guy. Like, he's like, "I know this guy doesn't like us and want to be neighbors, but if he's my neighbor, I'll deal with it." Like, I think the way it played out, it started out where they're out hunting and it's government land, and all of a sudden there's a sign that says "private property, keep out." And he's like, "What the hell's this?" And he just ignores it. "Oh, don't worry, son. This is government land." And they go off and they start hunting, and the guy's like, "Didn't you see my sign?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. This is government land." And the guy's like, "Oh, I just bought it. Here's my deed, blah, blah, blah. It's mine now, and I expect you to respect my sign and stay the hell away because I hate people." Now, to be honest, that's not a bad neighbor, because he's laying it down,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, that's the no problem. Not an asset to you, but he's not a problem in my mind.
Right.
So,
minding your own goddamn business. That's the best neighbor you can have.
The rifleman, he can't handle that shit. He's like, "Oh, what are we going to do? This isn't right." So he goes over with a bag of grain and drops it. And he's like, "Here, this will help you get started. If you ever need anything." Then he talks to his boy, and that guy's kid isn't going to school. So he runs over. "Oh, I see your kid isn't going to school. Maybe he wants to go with my kid. You probably didn't know that we have such a great school here in town." And he just kept trying and tries to build that relationship, And then sure enough, I guess one of his cows gets out, and the guy's like, "Well, it's on my land. It's my cow now." And then he's all pissed off and angry. And so the guy goes to put up a fence. And when they put up a fence, the kid, the horse bucks or something, and the kid falls in the barbed wire fence, and all kinds of drama comes out. But then the day gets saved. And when the day is saved, he's like, "This fence is a pretty good idea, and it keeps my cows in my yard, and I kind of like the barbed wire fence." And I'm like, "Yep, you should have just started with that shit in the beginning,
Mm-hmm. Mind your own goddamn business.
That's it. If we all just mind our own business, we won't have any problems.
Mm-hmm.
But also being respectful of their wishes can kind of, set things on the right path. This way, being kind of paid off in The Rifleman. I don't know if that's it. I think just listening and respecting wishes. Now, if they're coming onto your property, then we have some different things we need to, start to address.
Yeah, and where you live, you might not be able to just shoot somebody that's on your property.
Now, some states you're good.
Mm-hmm.
I know in my mystery state, turns out they're like, "Oh, you can't shoot your firearm when you're drunk unless you're on your property. Then if you shoot somebody and
Then
you're
it's
drunk,
right.
fuck it, because they were on your property. They shouldn't have been there anyway.
Right.
And I'm like, oh,
Excellent.
that makes good sense right
Seems
there.
like a pretty good rule.
Good
So
rule.
you can legally,
Yeah.
in your mystery state, get drunk and shoot guns in your backyard.
Yes, that is correct.
That is an excellent law.
I'm just saying, you guys may want to, check into things.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a hint. It's in the Southland. But, whatever. Another thing is like, all right, so some of the things that really annoy us about neighbors is maybe, like you said, property lines, boundaries. Maybe they go to put up a fence. The time to nip that in the bud is when they're starting to put it up, not after the fact, and let it start to annoy you. People not taking care of their pets where they're always, crapping in your lawn, or, maybe they're leaving their dog tied up and he's barking 24/7 in the yard, and shit like that. That gets annoying. Annoying kids. Sometimes the overgrown lawn.
Right. Some people treat their yards like shit, like junkyards.
And then all of a sudden you see like rats running out of it across your lawn,
Yeah.
Now, if I have the overgrown lawn, then, hey, but
Yeah, then mind your own business.
Yeah, mind
but
your
when
own
it's your neighbor,
maybe they
That's a
got
different
piles
story.
of garbage that are attracting roaches, or, I don't know. All right, maybe you live in an apartment building and they have a bunch of like soda bottles that they don't rinse out or do anything, and they're just all syrupy and bringing roaches, and so what are some things? Actually, another one, I had a friend just go through this where somebody changed the drainage in their yard to make it better for their property, but it basically directed all the water to flood, a friend of mine's parking lot. And he's like, what the hell, and they basically had to prove, how things were. And so this kind of things can really get ugly and cause tension.
Yeah, I think one of the things you got to do in a real life situation is just you document what happens. Keep track of what's going on. Check with your other neighbors if you're having a problem with somebody. Chances are, listen. If you have a neighbor that's an asshole, then you have a neighbor that's an asshole.
Yeah,
If all your neighbors are assholes, then you're probably the asshole.
that sounds right.
That's just a rule of thumb.
Yeah. Now, I did read a story. I was doing some research on the internet for this, and I guess a guy, one of these that you just rub them the wrong way for whatever reason. You have success, you have the pretty wife, I don't know. Somehow you piss off your neighbor, but this neighbor decides to call his wife and the husband Penguin and Bugs Bunny. Don't know why, don't know what they look like or why he came up with this. But the way he decided to irritate them a little bit more was he put a sign on the edge of his apartment and like an arrow pointing to his, neighbor's door. And it said, come get your photo taken with Bugsy. And it made me laugh because I was like, that's just messed up. But so what do you do when something like that happens, when you have people who push a little too far? And we're still in the modern laws have consequences world.
Right. Well, you gotta. I mean, for one thing, it might be better to just move.
It's better to just cut your losses.
You can just go. I mean, I don't think that I could bring myself to do something like that, though.
No.
I feel like I'm running away from a fight. But I mean, sometimes that might be the better option.
Yeah.
I don't know. If some of you guys are renters and some of you guys put down roots, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I read, people were like, oh, well, if you want to get at them, just like the same thing a jerky neighbor does to you, is cutting your grass early in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's a dick move to, kind of nudge back a little bit, You remember back like when you're in elementary school, you always hear about the kids like getting 10 pizzas delivered to the neighbor's house.
Yeah, it doesn't work anymore.
That doesn't work?
Yeah,
No?
they want the card number and everything.
All right.
Yeah.
I've seen people train the dog to take a crap in the neighbor's yard, or they always walk them over there.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that play out.
A long time ago, I had a shitty neighbor, and well, all right. Let me clear that up. I was a shitty neighbor.
Yeah, that sounds
They were
right.
always complaining about the fucking noise. Well, it got aggravating after a while, so I took a 55-gallon trash can or a 40-gallon trash can, and I leaned it up against their door and just put the hose in it and turned it on. So when they opened the door, it just fell into their living room. It was kind of shitty. Yes, that's true, but they didn't know who did it.
No, well then it's
So,
okay.
ultimately it was funny for me, and that's really about it. There's no moral to the story. That wasn't good behavior. I'm just saying it's something you could do.
They said the annoying neighbor, it's always good to send the solicitors over to their door. I'm not interested in solar, but you know who's really interested?
You know who really wants a Book of Mormon at their house? The neighbor.
You know who needs to find Jesus? They do. But that's just looking out. That's just being a good Christian,
That's right.
Late night basketball can be pretty annoying.
Because my trash can idea didn't work. They didn't come to Jesus after that. Maybe you'll have better luck.
Nice.
The late night basketball. That's another one.
That's classic.
But you can always hide in your backyard and shoot them with BB guns, and they'll just think they're getting stung by night wasps.
All right. You're just evil. One of the other. All right. So then things escalate, and they take it to the next level. The next level might be maybe you walk by the side of their house and disconnect the cable.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't have the internet for a couple days, and hey, things end bad.
Now, just look for cameras before you go to anybody else's
that's awkward.
That wasn't an issue 5 years ago, but now it is.
Now they all.
One of my annoying neighbors put up a camera in his front yard that faces out at the street.
Yes.
And now I'm like, I can't even walk down at that end of the street anymore.
No more peeing in the street like you used to?
No, it's ridiculous.
That sounds right. Same thing. Shutting off the gas on the outside at the meter.
Mm-hmm.
That'll slow them down a little bit.
Cut the lock off their electric meter. That's always difficult to explain.
Yeah, that's awkward.
But, yeah. So, I'm sure we can all think up great ways to fuck with our neighbors, dropping snakes through their windows or whatever it is you do. Maybe you just screw their doors shut while they're away at work.
You're evil. Yeah.
But obviously I'm joking about all this stuff.
Yes.
But after the shit hits the fan, though, that sort of thing becomes a much more serious situation.
All right.
Now, me personally, I'm going to be a lot more interested in trying to help my neighbors. Sometimes desperate people can become assets for you. If you're just a couple of guys with your family, maybe you and your son or whatever it is, a couple of extra hands can really make a difference. Somebody to be up at night, just keeping their eyes open, can make a big difference. But it's always important if you're going to invite people into your house after, shit hits the fan, you're going to want to make sure that they're not going to just kill you while you're sleeping and take all your shit, right?
Exactly.
The way I heard somebody talk about it was, imagine that shit went down and you had a book that had all the answers, all, problem-solving situations, but then, you don't want to burn that book when shit goes wrong.
Right.
You want to be that book. You want to be the person that helps, that solves problems that people can't live without. Especially if you're going to invite people to your house.
No, that sounds right. I mean, having allies and assets, and you being an ally and an asset to people is going to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And, I know a lot of you guys are assholes. A lot of the people that listen to this podcast are assholes.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to tolerate Kevin for this long.
Right, you wouldn't be listening to this still. But, I think you might have a hard time when, family members show up at your house desperate.
Right.
You might have, you might have heard that phrase from somebody or somebody in your family. Well, if things go wrong, I know where I'm going. I'm coming to your house. Most of the time they're joking. They don't know where you live. They don't care. But, sometimes family members might show up and you can't, some of you can turn away family members, but, most of you are going to want to take people in that you care about.
Right.
And if you turn them away and they're desperate, they're not going to come and knock a second time saying that they're planning on taking your shit.
No.
They're going to come when you're not expecting it. They're going to come back to get something for their kids to eat when you're sleeping, when you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And no matter how smart, intelligent, and prepared you are, you can't be ready all the time.
Right. And when people are hungry and desperate and their babies are starving, things will escalate.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So, I mean, it can get really dicey on what you're going to do with neighbors and friends when shit goes down. And, you never really know what's going to go wrong. They might be hearing on the radio from the government that everything's going to be fine the next couple of days.
Right. You just got to make it through 4 or 5 days.
Right. And you're at your house hoarding a year's worth of food.
Right.
All they have to do is make it for a couple of days. You're such an asshole.
Right.
And,
you're just trying to
kill
I
might know that shit's not going to be better in a couple of days, The power grid's down. No reason that it's going to come back up. But, they're going to be wanting to keep people calm. So they might be feeding them all sorts of shit. So we don't really know what the situation is going to be, when something goes wrong like this.
Right.
And we don't know who we're going to have to count on and who's going to be counting on us. We don't necessarily know. You might be expecting people to come to your house. You have a plan for it, and then they never show up, and you're not really going to have any idea why, or maybe it's going to be a couple of weeks. Maybe they're never going to show up. Maybe they're going to be a day late.
Right.
You don't really know what's going to happen. You can't plan for this too extensively.
Right.
Without running into some problems. Things that you counted on might not be the same after shit goes down.
No, that's exactly it. I mean, you can't see the future, so be careful how you tread,
That's right.
One of the I just came across a guy the other day, and he's a complete nut job, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can handle this guy. He's just nonstop about politics and whatever, and just there was no live and let live, but the more I talk to the guy, he sounds like he'd really be a big asset, in the world, the end of the world when you're trying to deal with stuff. So you just don't know, you got to give people a chance and try and work with things a little bit before, a lot better to have friends than enemies.
That's right. Especially in desperate situations.
No, not bad.
Now, I wanted to. You have anything else on that?
I do, but it's good. I think we'll just wrap it up at that on that topic there.
All right. Yeah, I've been paying attention a little bit. It looks like China is doing a good job in really pressuring companies to not talk about the Hong Kong situation. They're investing a lot of money in swaying your opinion, and the Hong Kong protesters are just a bunch of rioters and street thugs.
Street thugs.
If you take a poll in China, 99% of the people are against the protests in Hong Kong. They don't even understand why they would be so upset about anything.
Right, exactly.
So, China is really perfecting the art of propaganda machine, and they're starting to push it on us. Blizzard is a computer game company.
Okay.
And they do things like World of Warcraft and a couple other things like that.
I've seen it. Yep.
Yep. Well, Blitz Chung was a player in Hearthstone, and he was at a gaming, I guess he was one of the higher ranked gamers in this game.
Okay.
And during the tournament, he beat somebody, and they interviewed him after the tournament, and he said, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age."
Nice.
And he got banned from the game for a year, and he forfeited the $10,000 prize money because he broke their rules. And they have a huge market in China, so they had to just suck it up and fuck this guy over.
Yeah.
Because God forbid, we thought about freedom of speech as a positive in this country. I don't know. I thought we all kind of agreed about that for a long time, but South Park is now banned in China because they did an episode.
They did the China censorship episode. Yeah.
I didn't see it, but they're now censored because they talked about censorship.
Yep.
Houston Rockets. One of the members, I think it was one of the coaches, tweeted out something: "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." Mori is his name. The Chinese Basketball Association suspended all cooperation with the team and has cut down on a bunch of it. Do you realize that 50% more people in China watch the NBA games than in the United States? 150% of people of the market is in China versus the United States. I didn't realize that they were that in the basketball.
You have a lot of people, though.
But that's a big chunk of money.
Yeah.
So the NBA is basically shutting down the guy Mori for what he had said and censoring him, saying that they don't stand behind his comments and his comments don't represent them. They put out a statement the next day that said the NBA recognizes that Mori's remarks have deeply offended many of our friends in China, which is regrettable. And CCTV, that's the Chinese television station there, put out a statement, and it said, "We believe any remarks that challenge national sovereignty and social stability do not belong in the category of free speech." I'm sorry. Obviously, you don't understand the point of free speech,
right? Exactly.
That's the main fucking reason.
Exactly. No, that's the thing, and that's how it builds. We keep talking about, you don't want to say anything that upsets someone, and all this, but this dancing on eggshells is what destroys the people.
Right. Especially when you're limited on what you can say, because of the company you work for.
Yeah.
A lot of the people at Blizzard that work there held that walkout because of that, because of the way they're acting. By bullying people and threatening them with financial trouble, you can really get people to kind of cooperate and fall in a step.
Exactly.
You gotta pay your bills.
Got to pay your bills. That's why I didn't tell you guys that I work at Blizzard, because what would happen if they found out about this podcast?
Right. Well, I think it's kind of funny, though, that somehow our podcast is not banned in China yet.
And they keep downloading.
That's the important
thing. As long as Beijing is still listening.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, they've got our number. But the funny thing is about the tweet, the NBA tweet from Mori.
Yeah,
is that China's banned Twitter, so it's not even like people in China know about it.
They already nipped it in the bud.
Right. I mean, they've got everything banned. You can't even compare their great leader to Winnie the Pooh. Shit, What's next in the world? I don't even know what to do anymore.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But I mean, I feel like limiting what people say. I mean, that's one of those things about the facial recognition that drives me crazy. You know, if you're going to go out and protest, but they're keeping track of everybody who's at the protest.
Yes.
You know, and then they're going to come and find you for the warrant from the traffic stop, 2 years ago, or
Right.
you have to be worried about, baby mama drama. You're not going to go and protest. You're not going to be out there.
Exactly. And they're just bragging about whether it's true or not that they have that 500 megapixel camera or whatever that can pick out what they said. They said it can recognize every face in a crowd of 10,000.
Yeah.
And it's one camera. Yeah, that's pretty slick. So, that makes people think, hey, maybe I'm not going to be out there, rocking.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think all the protesters in Hong Kong are wearing masks? That's exactly the reason. Because all they got to do is pick out the 10 most vocal people.
Right.
And you drive around and pick them up, and you can wreck protests like that pretty quick.
Yes.
That's how they did it with the strike breakers. During early mining unionization and things like that, they'd walk off the job demanding better work conditions. They'd just go out and arrest the 10 most vocal people,
right?
And then they'd bully everybody back into work.
Oh,
so
setting the standard.
Yeah, if you can set an example, then it's a lot easier to control people and control what they say. It's just my opinion. I feel like facial recognition is a big hit against freedom of speech.
It definitely is taking a toll.
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically what we got to say about that. That's what I can tell you.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you guys want to go on our podcast, or I'm sorry, our Facebook page.
Yes.
I would love to hear about your shitty neighbor stories.
Yeah, you'd like some neighbor stories?
I would love to
and
hear
how you handled it.
About handling shitty neighbors.
That sounds right. So the best place really would be to join the Facebook group, which is the Prepping Badass group. And pretty much we don't have really high standards to let you in.
Yeah.
You send us a request. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm pretty sure you're cool enough. We'll get you in there.
We did have a looked like a member of ISIS trying to join.
Well, yeah, we did kick out the one or two ISIS members. But,
yeah, that was a little bit strange, but I don't know what they're trying to join our Facebook group. It was
they weren't quite as stealthy as they thought they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They weren't quite pro democracy or pro anything American.
Existence, letting people live, not decapitating Christians, whatever.
They did seem a little bit pro burning American flags on their Facebook page. So, I mean, whatever. You can't let everybody in, but
we have pretty loose standards.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you have an idea for a show topic. Maybe you've already sent us an idea for a show topic and Kevin blew you off because he doesn't get around to reading the emails.
That's possible.
Or maybe we read it. We were like, that's a great idea. And then a couple beers later, we were like, what were we going to do next week? Any of these things are possible. Maybe you want to shoot us an email at preppingbadass@gmail.com. And we'll see if we can work that out for you.
The Survival and Basic Badass podcast is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today. Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.